Care to elaborate and or demonstrate what you were thinking,
Yeah, so I was
even
like
just in its brief form,
yeah,
abbreviated form?
yeah, so like the summary was like basically like that like I just came back from, a trip like 2 states over, and that like um it's been a big shift since like even 2.5 years ago, like just feeling grateful for like how our lives are now. And just that like like 2 years ago, like my mom was in the hospital and basically, fighting for her life before she had the gemstones. And everything was like, a struggle and getting home, and she was fragile, and her lungs and her stroke and her heart attack and the diabetes and all those points. And basically that like, hey, if you fast forward to 2.5 years now later, like we're in a totally different place. Um, she went on a vacation with me all the way to Hawaii to see her family, and I was able to leave for like, a five, almost a week long trip to go to the woods and do my hiking. And she's independent. And like even this last trip, I could do like, in clear mindedness, knowing that she can take care of herself and I could enjoy myself and have a good time. And basically, like what's happening for us both, like health wise on a physical level, that's better. Her tumor shrinking, her lung capacity improving, her diabetes being gone, her like ability to respond well to physical therapy, and be encouraged to do exercises on her own. Being in this new phase where she's starting to transition from being completely dependent on the walker to like working with a cane and having more balance and stability to hold herself up. Her skin improving, looking younger. And then, what's happening with me physically, like resolving all that stuff that we started like a few years ago, like where I initially told you I had the PMS pain. And then, I had a lot of bleeding, and at the gynecologist, like they told me, oh, I had they found a, a minor fibroid and a cyst, and that like you worked with me immediately with another gemstone prescription to target that area because you didn't know about it, and neither did I. And not a few months later, when I go in for like a second scan, the fibroid's already shrinking from like 1.5 to 1, and then the cyst is gone, and they're telling me like don't come back. So like on these physical levels, right, my mom and I are both like health wise doing better. I'm getting more active, yeah, getting into more like physical things and feeling more vitality, and joy towards like activities and life, and less focus on caregiving and worry and being overly protective. And then now that like we're working like physically, individually improving, that like also like on these emotional levels, like this healing is taking place too. That like, in our day-to-day lives, we're moving more and more out of like the traumas of the past, like our family traumas and like her relationship with her husband, and all of the disappointments and the depressions that came along with that, and shifting more to like acknowledgement, acceptance, like even humor about like the things that happen, like being able to separate what occurred in the past from like our identity and our like emotional state. So we're like a lot like less captive by like our home life. And yeah, also that like going to Hawaii was like really healing, just resolving a lot like internally, and being able to start feeling the emotions instead of being dulled down. So it's just like this integrative like experience of the healing happening in like very like subtle and then not so subtle layers, things that are very noticeable, like the physical like manifestations of like the test results that are like, black and white hard evidence that nobody could refute, like we have that. But then we also have these like like subtle changes as well as big changes that happen. Like sometimes there's big emotional releases that I have or my mom has, like where we have a realization and we can support each other, kind of like in healing as we both wear these necklaces. And yeah, just knowing that the next phases of our life are going to continue to be improving in ways that we didn't anticipate. But it's all been like a really good process. And yeah, through the physical healing and through like what's emotionally happening, I think we're both starting to, trust ourselves more and just have a better kind of general life. And yeah, there's a lot more hopefulness. There's some goals. We can kind of have goals for like how we want to like shift our apartment and stuff. So we're more like in this kind of like rebuilding ourselves phase than like survival, which is really cool, Yeah, even like watching parts of the videos from before, it's like I could see just like how much trauma it was to go through those things, to watch her go through it, and yeah, how painful it was, and then to kind of be where we are now, right? Like so normal that we can argue and bicker about like stuff on a daily level, like regular people. Like I don't treat my mom as fragile anymore, so like that's quite interesting occurrence. So yeah, that's like loosely like what I wanted to talk about. Um, and I was like happy that I could find the thoughts and the words to kind of like um, in my mind. Yeah, to be able to communicate that and reflect it back to you. I think so much has happened that sometimes I'm like a little like dumbfounded and like speechless because it's like where do I start? It's been so much like since she had her stroke and heart attack and it was so, emotional for me. But but yeah, like I think we're on the other side of it. I can go to my apartment for like the weekend, do my biking. I'm starting to get involved in groups again. Like my health is recovering and that I can be active again. And like all these things wouldn't have been happening like before. We were just kind of hanging on. And yeah, like you said that the gemstones would be helping us like incrementally and building us up day by day. And so many things you said to me, like I found hard to believe, but wanted to believe, took a chance on believing. And I was so skeptical. And, that these little crystals could like help us out so much, but they are. And I'm seeing them start to help other people that have also been in some crises, like my friend's father, his recovery from his cancer, having also a 4-month prognosis to live, like similar to my mom. Before she had her stroke and heart attack, they gave her a 4-month prognosis to live. So like, it's hard to compute anything when someone gives you information like that. Um, you just can't focus at all. So like, yeah, watching somebody recover from that, another person recover from cancer just from wearing some gemstones, and lessening the Western medical and the chemo, and being able to celebrate their birthday again and go hang out with their family and like ignore their health because they don't have to think about it as much. It's like helping fortify my belief in this process, and it's very encouraging, just in general.